If you are hearing this broadcast, it means despite being attacked, the Constitution is still in play. The following episodes contain information on how the people can use the Constitution to take back control of the Republic. You must...
There is nothing wrong with your screen. Do not attempt to adjust the picture. We are controlling the messaging in this transmission. We will tell you the topics you may speak about. We will remove any speech we deem unfit. We will identify and protect you from all that is evil. You need only put your full trust in us. We are the government, and we are here to help.
Hello, everybody, and welcome. So, this particular Wednesday live should be interesting. I hope you guys enjoyed the videos we released this week on the border, but in particular, and what I wanted to start with, and I did the cover for, was this constant emergence of satanic terminology in different products and things that are, and really the products are creepy. The products are incredibly creepy in their own right, but the fact that they name them the way they do just stuns me. So I'm in the process of putting a video together on this luciferase, and that, yeah, you heard that right, luciferase. That's actually something that they named a bioluminescent that they just happen to be using in, like, they used it to test the vaccine. They're using it to, they're now the Homeland Security Department. You can't make this up. I feel like this is an Alex Jones episode, and I'm really curious to know what people think of this. But, like, the Department of Homeland Security actually did file a patent for bioluminescence, for luciferase, right? Literally, that's the name, for luciferase markers. So they're basically tattoos, invisible tattoos that you put on someone's wrist or forehead, and they can scan these to see if you had been vaccinated or what your medical history is, or just all kinds of creepiness oozing out of this. And, like, when I first heard it, I was like, no effing way. I was like, you people have gone crazy. There's no way this is true. This is nuts. What the hell is going on in this world? Like, but it's true. So I went and actually found the patent, and I heard this first from Joshua Phillip, actually second or third from Joshua Phillip. The first two people I heard it from, I blew off. The first one, anyway, I blew off. I was like, oh God, here we go. But then I heard it again. And then Joshua Phillip did an episode on it. And I'm like, all right, if Joshua's doing it, I'm like, clearly he has found, backup for this, and he's found the patent, etc. And sure enough, he did. And I'll share some of that with you as well. But it's not even just like just the idea. Like, so a scientist discovers this bioluminescent organic material. If you don't know what bioluminescence is, think fireflies, right? So like a firefly, the way they light up, right? So that's like biological luminescence, right? Like biological light. That's what it is. And the reason why bioluminescent materials are significant in science is because it helps doctors, researchers, etc., to see, like, so they can see in areas where you normally can't shine light, right? But, like, just think of the process. Just be a fly on the wall in the room as this goes down. And here you are. You made this massive discovery. You just discovered this new bioluminescent, material, whatever they want to call it. And now you're thinking, all right, well, what do I name this? And just like, what goes through the person's head when they're like, you know what? Let's name it after the Prince of Darkness. That'll work out great. That ain't gonna creep anybody out, really. and better yet, let's use it on everything that is politically active and crazy. Let's use it on who does that? right? And this is what baffles me is like how did anyone think it was okay that there'd be no issues in naming this bioluminescent after Lucifer? Like and mind you, it's because like biblically Lucifer is like the shining light or the morning star or whatever, but it doesn't matter. like like how is there no one in the room that's like, nah, maybe Lucifer's a bad name. Let's come up with something different. How about we honor the Illuminati and call it Illuminescence? How about that? It's just crazy. But lo and behold, there it is. And now lo and behold, not only did they first it was creepy because they used it while they were testing. It's not in the vaccine, but they used it while they were testing it. And then, which is fine. It's something like a bioluminescence is something you use when you test things like that. But like the fact that the Department of Homeland Security is on it, is doing this to literally get markers that they can tattoo you with is insane. It's just like, how does nobody think this is crazy? And it leads you to, and here's the best part, right? Is that they did a fact check on this. So when I was looking into this, the first thing that pops up everywhere were all the fact checks. And if you just read the titles, you think to yourself, well, this isn't true. Then see, look, and of course, not me, because I know what fact checks are all about. So I open the fact check and I start reading it. They're actually fact checking a prophecy. So they fully admit in the fact check that Homeland Security has indeed patented or applied for a patent for these bioluminescent markers, these luciferase markers to track people. But they say there is no evidence that it is the mark of the beast. And I was just like, what on earth is going on here? So if you needed any more validation that it's actually true, even the fact checkers acknowledge that it is true. They have filed for this patent. So their fact checking is that the patent is not intended to be the mark of the beast. They literally fact checked a biblical prophecy. It's insanity. But like I said, the fact that it's happening is crazy enough. Andy Frick says, okay, I'll just take the temperature as they lift the temp gun to your forehead. Yeah, and that's it, right? Like once you get these things, it's just, I don't know. I mean, to me, it's just madness. I mean, and here's Simmons Farm saying, knew this knowledge for the last couple of years. Glad to see others come into the party, even if you're late. Yeah, better late than never. Look, it's not that I've never heard anything like this, though, Simmons, right? It's not that I've never heard anything like this. It's just like I heard the luciferase thing because first they were saying, like, people were passing around social media that there was this thing luciferase in the vaccine. And I was just like, that's too crazy to be true. And when I looked it up, I did realize that it was used in testing, though. So even though it's true that the statement it was in the vaccine was false, they did use it in testing, which was really creepy enough. Like that just opened just the name luciferase. This is my point, is just the name luciferase. It's so ridiculous. It's so absurd that you start thinking, when you listen to these people say, the reason we see these, all-seeing eyes in Disney stuff and all of these like symbols everywhere, right? And we see all this stuff, and you say to yourself, like, who does that? Like, who does that? Why would they put this symbolism? And then if you look into it, you realize, or at least what is said, is that the occult, you have to show homage or something, and they do these things in plain sight. I know Beyonce had her stage, a like satanic symbol lit up on her stage, and you could only see it from an aerial view, but it was like there on the stage, and they had like an aerial shot that showed it. And there's just all kinds of examples like that. And I guess it baffles me that they can be so, like, no one would do that, right? Who would do that? So it's that, and that's my point, is that who would do that, right? It's the truth in plain sight. Yeah, absolutely, right? Like it does look that way, right? It does look that. I mean, it makes you want to be biblical, right? Now, I don't want to say that this is the mark of the beast, because I don't really want this video to have that stupid tag under it. when they're going to just freaking fact check a prophecy. But for the love of God, for the believers in this world, like just naming it luciferase should tell you anything you do with this from that moment forward, from the day you name it luciferase, anything you do with this from the moment forward is going to be met with scrutiny by any Christian of any denomination. like it's absolutely insane to me that they would do that. But nonetheless, there they are. They have done it. The Bible has been written and rewritten through time. These parasites are following a script, aka scriptures. Yeah, look, I don't want to make it a debate about the Bible. I'm just kind of looking at it from a standpoint of, this has to create, like, even if someone's not a believer. Now, I myself, right, I'm Christian by faith, right? So, but even if you're not a believer, like, you still have to admit that this is creepy. Like you still have to acknowledge that this is creepy. Like, you don't have to be the most devout follower to understand the creepy nature of this. I mean, this is indeed, nuts. And then on top of it, you got stuff like Bill Gates. So so for those that aren't aware, like, this is just another example, right? And this is why I put Gates on the cover, because let me share my screen with you guys and just give you an idea of what I'm talking about. So pulling up right now. So he puts out a patent or attempts to get a patent. And from what I understand, the patent, this is even worse, I guess. The patent was denied because it was already being worked on by someone else. And it's like, what's going on, right? Oh my God. But nonetheless, there it is. So it's patent. Here's the patent number, folks, if you haven't heard this one. Now, this one I knew for a long time. I actually went and looked up this patent. What you're looking at here is the actual patent from the patent office, okay? So this is 100% true. You can Google this. It's right there. I fell out of my chair when I saw this for the first time. It was probably 2 years ago, a year and a half ago. But he files for, look at this patent number right here. All right. Patent number 060606. like what? like what? And of course, it's not like patent number 060606 filed by Bill Gates and Microsoft. It's not like this patent is for something benign or something, something, simple, right? He's not trying to just make a new processing chip here. So here's the chart, the simplistic chart of how his system works. So what he wanted to do, and what he wants to do, I guess. I don't know if this actually got approved. I saw a video saying it was originally rejected, but it was one of those kind of standard rejections that they get to respond to, and it goes back and forth for a while. But like, just the fact that this is on someone's brain. It's a cryptocurrency system that they were trying to patent, all right? And the idea, without going through the chart at the moment, is that they basically, whether it's nanotech or an actual something that gets inserted into your body. But the idea is that as you work, and let's say you're swinging a hammer, right? And that, you're out there, you're demolition for a living, and you're swinging that hammer. As you swing the hammer, the sensors read you and how much energy you're exerting. And then that information, if you look at this chart here, so here's you, all right, you're swinging the hammer. The information from the sensor that's in you goes to a device that's in the area. That device then pumps it up to the network, all right, which goes to a server and to the cryptocurrency system to determine how much you get paid for the day based on your, like, that's how creepy this has gotten. Okay. Like, who patents something like that? But no, like, again, lo and behold, here we are, right? Here we are. And it's stunning to me that these types of things even exist. I just, again, even it's not stunning to me that they exist, actually, because I understand technology very well. I sell it for a living. I understand where it's headed. I know that it's going in some amazing places, but at the same time, that very same technology that's going in amazing places is also going in a lot of creepy places, and that's with all technology, right? So, and the trick is for humanity to manage that, right? And what makes WEF and the Great Reset so creepy is that they want to control that. They know exactly where it's headed, and they want to control that. They want 100% control of all of that. But like, when you hear someone tell you that a lot of this stuff is a cult and a lot of this, if you were blowing it off, I guess you got to look at stuff like this and be like, what the hell, right? You got who names a patent 060606, right? Who names this bioluminescent? Who names it luciferase? Like why? There's got to be a motive behind that, because somebody in the room. It's not like people don't know who Lucifer is. Right. So it's like someone in the room has to understand what that impact of doing that is. And for them to still say, you know what, that's an awesome name. Luciferase is perfect. Go with that. Let's rock. Right. Like, it's just crazy. It's just madness. And I'm just like, again, when I see these things happening and whatnot, it just makes me wonder, what the hell? How does nobody else see this? Right? How does nobody else see this? So, like, let me try and. There was something else I wanted to show you. So here's the one with the luciferase, right? So here's the idea behind that. And my computer's acting a little funky right now, but all right. So it says this spiky patch. This was done. This was that. So this has been going on for a while. And here's what the patch looks like. That basically it's got little micro needles on it, and they would use it to stamp you, basically, like to stamp an invisible tattoo on you that would go under your skin. Now, we did that video because we've been looking at Yuval Harari, the WEF, for a while, and we did that one video with the music behind it and such. Was Meet Yuval Harari, and kind of gave you some of his quotes and some of the creepy stuff that he talks about. And one of the things that he said that at the time I took as being, maybe there was something going on with the vaccine that he's talking about, but he said the biggest breakthrough we've had, he talked about it in the past tense, and he was like, the biggest breakthrough we've had was surveillance under the skin. And like, again, when I first heard it, I was thinking, what? Like, is he talking about what exactly is he talking about, surveillance under the skin? And now that I see this, I have to assume this is what he meant, that this is what he meant. And to see that Homeland Security has absolutely 100% confirmed, gotten a patent for this, and here's their patent, okay? And just to show you what I mean, all right, and so that I'm not like, I don't want to go Alex Jones on you guys. Like, it does seem that way, though. But like, if you just Google, now I don't have to go to DuckDuckGo, just Google, right? Homeland Security. Hold on, Homeland. Yeah, I already Googled it, so I have it in the list here, right? So let's click that and see what comes up. Boom, the patent comes up right away. When you click it, it goes right in. Now, it talks in all patentese and stuff like that, but it's 100% true that Homeland Security has filed for this patent. And this patent, and right here is where it tells you this is the Homeland Security Department. So not difficult to find. Like anything else with all the creepy, crazy stuff that's going on today, not difficult to find. It's just, the idea is, well, who's going to look for it? Right? But like Joshua Phillip looked for it. And found it and was like, what the hell? Now, I'm sure somebody tipped him off. I'm sure someone was like, hey, dude, you should know that this is out there. And it's been out there for a little while, but like nobody knew about it. Nobody talked about it. And then, that brings us to the bigger question with all this stuff. So like, what are they planning to do with this? Right now, clearly it's a tracking system, right? So you got to look at it for what it is before you start. Now, we know for a fact how it works, right? So if the patent goes out full and it becomes a thing, then the reality is that's what it is. You take that little stamp that we showed you, you stamp it on somebody, it puts a little invisible tattoo on you. The bioluminescent in the luciferase is what's used, so that emanates and can be read. It can be read like, a regular. They're saying they could amp the technology up to do it with something as simple as a cell phone, but they certainly have the scanners to read that stuff now. And so, that's the end result, is that for some purpose, they're going to stamp. They want to stamp people. This isn't your doctor either. This is Homeland Security, right? They want to stamp people and be able to read that. I mean, that's just nuts. That's crazy talk. It's crazy talk. It's Alex Jones talk, but it's real. It's 100% real. And when I say Alex Jones talk, I don't want to bash on Alex Jones. He's got enough problems right now of his own. But there are things that the guy said. He's been wrong about a bunch of stuff, but there are some things that he said that have come true a year or 2 years later. So I don't want to bash the guy, but he's in a lot of hot water right now, and there's a good reason for it. So I don't want to harp on him. So we are the mules for these specific individuals. Yeah, we are the mules, right? We're the lab rats. Is basically what this is. I mean, somehow this is going to be sold as as being good for you, right? And the way that it was sold in one of those articles that I was showing you was that well, your body's an amazing recorder of medical history. However, once that history gets transposed to paper, things get dicey. They could lose paperwork. They can do this. They can do that. Much better to have it all in one database where we can just scan it and have all your information up in the cloud. And it was just like the creepiness of reading it was enough for me. Right, as if hearing the term luciferase doesn't freak you out enough. You don't have to be religious. That's just a creepy term. You just don't name things after the Prince of Darkness. It's like it should just be an unwritten rule. It is an unwritten rule that they just violated, right? Like, who does that? Hey, you know what? Yeah, that's a great new miracle drug we found. Let's name it Satan. Like, you just don't do that. It's just crazy. I can't deal with these people. They own the medical, financial, education systems. We've been schooled, fooled, and ruled. Yeah, we have, but we're on our way back. We're on our way back. Look, 2020 was a big thing in all fronts. 2020 was it wasn't just the trigger for WEF to start moving forward with all this craziness. It was also an eye opener for the American public and really the public around the world. Right. And so, I could tell you with the school system alone, right, just the fact that everybody had to homeschool or do the Zoom schooling, like what did that result in? That resulted in waking parents up in mass to what was going on in their schools. Right. So this indoctrination stuff, this grooming that has been going on for decades that we've all been blind to. And frankly, on a lighter level, even my schooling, I went to a Catholic school. So 1 through 8, never would they, no matter what Marxist was telling them, they got to put those pornographic books in our library. No way was Sister Marguerite Tory having those books put in the classroom. But that being said, as time went on, and the public schools, they were starting to creep in. And it just got to the point where they've been doing this behind the shadows for so long that and we've been ignorant to it. But 2020 changed that. 2020 let everybody look in the classroom. And now what was the result? Ballotpedia. You go to Ballotpedia, you see that it shows you a chart of year by year, the school recalls, the school board recalls, and they doubled. Oh, it's actually tripled. They tripled from 2020 to 2021. All right. And that's school board members being brought for recall. All right. And there's a reason for that. Like, you look at the chart. If you go on Ballotpedia and type in school board recalls or Board of Education recalls, you'll see it there. It's pretty crazy. You'll see the jump. It's like 20, and it's like 60 or I'm sorry, 90 in that 1 year. Like, that's what happens when the cat's out of the bag, and the cat's out of the bag now. So we know what's going on. This is who they worship. Simmons Furnace says this is who they worship. Satan, Saturn, Baal. Yeah, I know, the goat's head and all that. Look, it's creepy stuff. It's creepy stuff. There's no doubt about it. There's an element of this where there's got to be some element of truth to this I don't know about the I don't know though. I mean, who names it Luciferase, right? But I mean, in Hollywood, there's definitely an element of truth to this. I mean, with these like when you look at it, it's like that shirt that I have, like once you see, you cannot unsee. And underneath it, it's like Black Rock and hashtag Black Rock, hashtag Save Our Children, hashtag Disney. Like these are all things that like once you see the reality of them, you can't unsee, right? And now you start to see it, in other places where they loom their ugly heads. So like, but look, it's one of those things. I just wanted to get people's reaction to the whole, you know, to the whole madness of naming things after the Prince of Darkness. It's just crazy to me that you would do that. And lo and behold, here we are, right? Where we've done that. And and it is what it is. It is what it is. So now it's just up to us to see it and kind of call it out for what it is. So why would a few elitists? That's Connie Page. Thanks for commenting, Connie. Why would it? And that's on Facebook. Why would a few elitists at the top want to rule the world? Why? They always do, right? That's the nature of things. There's always look. Once we're done getting rid of this group of coconuts, there's going to be a whole new batch of coconuts falling from the tree that'll come up another 40 or 50 years later. Like this is just there's always that evil person who wants to rule the world, or group of people that want to rule the world. And like you couldn't have a better character than Klaus Schwab to represent that group. He's not the kingpin of it. He's like the front man. But like in the end, you can't have a more stereotypical 1980s like villain, right? The guy is truly a real life Bond villain, with accent and everything. I mean, he's just like straight out the Reich. It's crazy that it's crazy how everything's playing out like a 1980s movie. It really is. I mean, when you look at it, right? You got this guy who wears funky clothes, right? He's got that spacesuit looking thing that he wears. I mean, like, where do you buy something like that? You buy it in like Villains Are Us, right? Like, where do you get that? Let me. If you don't know what I'm talking about with the spacesuit, oh, it's great. I'll try and pull it up here for you. It like this dude straight out of an '80s movie, but like if you go to Google Images for him, there's always one that has him in the spacesuit. I don't know if I can. Of course, now I won't be able to find it. Maybe I made fun of him too much, and he told him to take down the spacesuit. No, here he is. Let's see. All right, I'm going to share right now and just kind of give you areas. Look at this suit he's wearing. Like, who dresses like that? That's like something you get at Universal Studios when you're in like the Judge Dredd section, you know. But like this dude couldn't be he couldn't play the part any better than he does. It's almost like they put out an ad like need one super evil villain for world domination. And Klaus just showed up in that costume, and that was it. You got the job. So, but that's why, right? That's why, Connie, because because the evil villains are always out there, and no matter how good we try to be, and no matter how much better society tends to get, you've always got these villains trying to undermine it and take over the world, and so which kind of brings us to the videos that I've been putting out this week. If you haven't seen them, they've got a ton of play on Facebook. One of them did pretty well on YouTube, but they got a ton. They went nuts on Facebook, and so I mean, I want to say we gathered. By the way, if anybody watching is one of our new followers that joined in the last week or so, welcome. Let me know in the comments that you're here. So we took on maybe 2,000 or so new followers last week. So it appears the border issue is a really hot one. If you haven't seen the videos, it was basically starting from last Wednesday live. Last Wednesday live, I went over with you guys what I call the Big Four, and they're kind of the top four investigative journalists that I know of right now. And that was Joshua Phillips, Lara Logan, Andy Ngo, and Michael Young. All right, Michael Young being a war correspondent Lara Logan, really a lifetime war correspondent as well. Much more, she's the most famous of the bunch. I mean, she's won all the awards. She used to kill it on 60 Minutes back when there were actual real broadcasting on embedded journalism and stuff on 60 Minutes. She eventually was worked out of CBS because she just was not going. She was always going to tell it like she saw it. Eventually found her way into Fox. Fox got rid of her because she made the comment that what the people around the world are telling her. She didn't say I'm saying this, although she didn't disagree with it either. But she said what people around the world are telling me. And when Lara Logan says people around the world are telling me, she's not talking about like the local villagers. Okay. Like she has sources and connections everywhere. So like what she says is she said the people around the world tell me that they view Anthony Fauci as what's his name? Mengele, the Nazi scientist, the mad scientist who was doing experiments on humans. And like I know what she was talking about. Like I think what she was referring to was Fauci's acceptance and encouragement of gain of function research, that he was actually quoted and said himself in his own published paper that any leakage or issues that come from gain of function research were worth the benefits, which is exactly what a mad scientist would say, right? Even Obama saw the gain of function research. They had a leak in the CDC during Obama's administration, and like that, which brought it up to Obama's desk because now we have a leak or a leak in one of our top labs, top security like psycho labs. We had a friggin' leak, so that makes it to the president's desk. Once he became aware of what the hell was going on with this project, like as you could like Obama or hate Obama or whatever, but like he's still a human being, and like any human being that hears that there's a mad scientist in one of our labs being funded by us who's trying to weaponize viruses is going to stop research on that. Because you know why? That stuff kills Democrats too. So he immediately stopped it too. Everyone who had any common sense around gain of function research, except for the mad scientists, would have put an end to that. And then that's how it went to China, because he lost his funding. He waited for Obama to go away. No one said anything to Trump. He came in, and it was just like in the beginning of Obama's term. It just started going on. Nobody said anything. As long as there was no leak, no one was going to say anything. And then they shipped it over to China. But that is some mad scientist stuff. So, the fact that people around the world, as she's saying, were looking at him that way was not illegitimate. There were reasons for them to look at her that way. But anyway, Fox News buried her after that. Buried her. And she wasn't on payroll for Fox, from what I understand. She had a show with them that was on their like streaming app or whatever, on their Fox Nation streaming app. But Lara Logan has no agenda or something like that. But they canceled that. They got rid of her. This cut all ties because she said that about Fauci. And I'm just like, Fox News is another one that needs to go away. They just need to go away. Like I have no tolerance for any of these freaking people. And like when it comes to whether it's Fox or the obvious ones, right? Fox like pretends that they're this like conservative network and whatever. Like I don't even need you to be conservative. Just don't censor the freaking truth. Just don't censor the truth. When you have a gem like Lara Logan out there, like Michael Young, like Joshua Phillip, Andy Ngo does all the Antifa stuff. When you have gems like that out there, you don't censor these people. But like what we showed anyway, the first point, we started that Wednesday, gave you the breakdown of them. Then I gave another breakdown of Lara Logan specifically by herself, and then went on to talk about what she was quoted as saying. And what she was quoted was in Bannon's War Room, Steve Bannon's War Room show. It's like a streaming show that he does. And what she said in this was that she had a high-level source that was in a UN meeting that required multiple levels of clearance, where he heard with his own ears, they straight had an open conversation at this meeting about the global migration, and what their plan was at the UN for the United States. And that plan was to have 100 million migrants into the US They didn't give the timeline at that point, all right, but they have a 2030 agenda. So it's fair to assume they're expecting to accomplish it by 2030. Now, the idea behind that is to flood the U.S. with migrants, and then start making the case. Right now, keep in mind throughout all this, there's going to be they're thinking anyway, and they're planning that there's going to be a Biden type person in office, a Hillary type person in office, someone that's going to carry the agenda forward, right? Like Trump was, she said it in that interview that like that guy was clear that they did not expect Trump to win. And he was the disruptor that everybody thinks he was. Like he was. He was that guy. He was that dude that showed up like, hey, and everybody just kind of stared at him like we can't even tell him what we're doing. And so that explains all the attacks and all the vitriol and the next level hatred that have been thrown at the man since he started. Of course, he didn't help, right? He didn't help. He enjoyed he got his shots in too. But like in the end, that was the goal. You get 100 million people in here. You've got a line of presidents, State Department, everybody filled with your people, and then you just start making the case as to why a regional government is more effective than 3 individual governments, and then that brings you to what we put on the cover, which was, what was it, Amerimexicanada or Amerimexicanada, the North Amerimexicanada territory, right? And that was my joking way of wrapping it all up, but that's it. It's true in the sense of what they would like to accomplish, and this is I said to myself, well, how would they accomplish this? So I started looking into that further, and lo and behold, who comes up? The same top 4 guys. I got Michael Yohn, I got Joshua Phillip, and this one actually was a cool documentary. Joshua Phillip actually went out to meet Michael Yohn to get his breakdown, and I've heard Michael Yohn's been in and out of the border like crazy. He's gone. He's spent weeks and weeks at the Darien Gap, which is just outside of Colombia. It's a treacherous landscape that migrants have to make it through. And so he's been down there. He's been in Venezuela. He's been all over the world traveling this, logging this migration process. But what they broke down and what they showed us was it's not really the cartels. Like it is the cartels in the sense that, yeah, you pay. I mean, this is how it works. You pay $6,000 and per head. So you got a family of 4. That's $24K. You just ponied up, right? And what do you get for $24K? You get dragged through 12 different countries. Okay, and this is how we know that they're not asylum seekers. All right, because they've crossed 12 different borders. None of those countries were at war or in states of chaos, but they didn't apply for asylum at any of them. The goal was very simple from the day they left their house. We're going to the United States. So the idea that they all need asylum is nonsense. All right. But what's creepy about it is that all of these people are being literally bussed, planed, etc., by the United Nations. All right. It's not by the cartels. It's by the United Nations and sometimes by smaller non-government organizations. But the immigration, what is it? The Organization for International Immigration or International Migration, OIM, or sometimes it's called IOM, International Organization for Migration. Same deal. You can go to their website. It's an open website. They tell you right there, yes, we're a division of the UN. Here's what we do, etc. They create brochures that show people how to migrate. They provide busing. When these people get out of the Darien Gap, OIM is there. They're in Panama. They were in Afghanistan when the refugees were leaving Afghanistan. They're in Lithuania. They're in Europe, all over Europe. They're all over the place. Okay, they are all over the world. This is the United Nations tool for migrating people, right? And it's not like these people migrating. These are not people. When you say, "Oh, it was a long trek," it was this and that. By the time they get to the United States, they've got full new gear, all new clothes, all new everything. Like they're walking in. It's not like some guy showing up in like war-torn shoes and like they've been traveling like crazy. Like that's not what we're looking at. And Paul Andrews says, I do believe they receive help and fed along the way. There's no way they can. Yeah, well, that's the thing, Paul. And that's what we put in that episode is IOM is paying for all this. We're paying for all this, right? Because in the end, what IOM will tell you, all right, and I put this in that video, it was the last video we dropped, where IOM will help them all the way along the way. They provide brochures. The UN is in control of all this entire process of them. The only thing the cartels do is start the ball rolling. They basically hit the first domino, and then UN handles the rest of the process. So, and the cartels are making a killing off this. That's $6,000 a head, right? And yeah, they may have a guy or two involved with helping with the migration process, but the cartels aren't paying for those buses. The cartels aren't providing all the food and clothing. And these non-government organizations, there's no way a small Catholic charity can handle the mass of people that come through these areas. There's no way. There's no way that just through regular donations that they're just cranking all that out. There's just no way. All right. And when it comes to OIM and IOM or IOM, once these people get to the States, they're still not done. They actually cut them a check and they call it on their website a loan. All right. Which they acknowledge is funded by who? By the State Department. All right. So it's funded by the U.S. government, and they give them these quote unquote loans, and then they send them off. And then this is where the mom and pop charities come in. They provide these charter buses to take them into the heartland of the United States, where they can then disappear and just become part of, hide in the shadows. And at that point, do you think they ever come back? So who's left with responsibility to collect the payment on these loans? They leave that to the non-government organizations. You don't have to be a rocket scientist to know that that money's gone, right? Those are not loans, they're grants. If someone does show up to pay it back, that person's an idiot because they're not expecting that money back. They expect that money to be gone because it's not their money either. It's your money. It's your money. Nobody cares that money never gets paid back because it's not their money. It's your money. And essentially what's going on is the UN is utilizing migration to literally invade the U.S. quietly, flood it with non-U.S. citizens, and then try and take it over from within. All right? It's just, it's not even up for debate. This is not something that you even would have a conversation about. It's just not that way. Like, this is 100% fact. There's nothing debunkable here. There's no fact check to put on this. It just doesn't exist. I mean, they were picking up documents, and I put a clip of that in the video that I put out where Joshua Phillip goes down to they're walking along an area, a popular crossing spot where all the trash is laid out all over the place. And they're picking up like IDs and all this stuff because they've been tutored the whole way down by the UN that you need to come in as a refugee. Like, they're basically telling them, you have to know that if you screw this roll up, we can't help you. In order for us to keep this lie going, is essentially what they're saying. You have to play the game. So they all dump all forms, all traces of ID before they make the cross. So now they can come across and lie. And apparently there have been some areas where they were doing DNA testing as these people were coming across claiming, these are my children, whatever. So they did DNA testing to see if they were. And there were like 30 or 40% of them that were not. And they started doing that because the same kids were coming. They said they were seeing the same kids coming across. And people were starting to notice it. And as a result, they started doing that testing only to find most of them were not. And that's I guess, the whole point. So it's like we're living in this crazy ass world where we're naming drugs after, not drugs, but this bioluminescent, whatever category that falls in. Like, we're naming it after the Prince of Darkness. We've got Gates filing patents for with the patent number 060606. It's all demonstrable stuff. Like it sounds like crazy stuff you'd read in some like stupid novel, right? Until you go to the patent office site and pull up the actual patent. You just like, it has to be intentional. It has to be. The odds of that, like, it's not like that was a random patent number. That's not going to just happen to land on Bill Gates's creepy project for cryptocurrency embedded in your skin. You know, it's like luciferase is just not going to become this bioluminescent that starts, that they start using for things that are creeping people out, right? So the Department of Homeland Security is not going to suddenly look at something with something named luciferase to place a patent on. It's just crazy. It's crazy. And then you've got this border nonsense, right? Like people say, "Oh, I knew this for a decade." No, you didn't, because this started 2 years ago. The organizational level that it's going on right now is only two, maybe 2.5 years old. This whole IOM organization, conveyor belt system that they have going on is about 2 years old. They've been pulling stuff at the border for a long time, but the epic levels that they're bringing them in now, like people are estimating it could be up to 2 to 3 million or more each year. All right. And I would argue it's probably more, because it's just this is just a conveyor belt, just running every day, thousands more every day, thousands more every day. And you don't know how many thousands, you don't know where they're coming from, you don't know where they're going, you don't know anything. And if we're believing the numbers that these dootadoos put in front of us, there's estimated 11 million illegal nonsense. They've been estimating 11 million or so for like 10 years now. That number is easily over 30 million. Easily. You don't got to be a mathematician to figure that one out. It's just crazy. Yeah, so Robert says, you said earlier costs won't affect borders, but a federal balanced budget will. Yeah, convention of states will. So what I meant when I said, that's a good point for me to clarify, is what I meant when I was saying that convention of states is not going to address the border issue. I meant directly. So in other words, right now, I mean, look, a convention of states could directly affect it, but this one cannot, right? So like immigration law and such, there's not a category in the current movement where it's now. Yes, federal balance. Are there things that taking back control in the other areas, in the areas of term limits, in the areas of government overreach, in the area of fiscal restraints, and do those things help correct a lot of this? Yes. I mean, it's just not a direct. It's not like we're going to put an amendment in that says, the federal government no longer has responsibility for the borders. Right? Because the Constitution does give that responsibility to them. Now, we could take it away. We'd have to call another convention, most likely. We could take it, but here's the thing, right? We passed this first convention of states. Once that gets done, and this is what I keep trying to hit home with everybody, everyone's getting caught up on the small things. And I'm like, there's a big play here. And the big play is the Jefferson statement, right? When the people fear the government, it's tyranny. When the government fears the people, it's liberty. This brings liberty because the government now fears the people. Regardless, let's say the convention's called and we get term limits. We get very limited fiscal restraints, and we don't get a lot in the way of overreach or whatever. Like, let's just say it's not successful in the sense of getting all the amendments we want, right? But it is successful in filling its goal and going through the process and going through the ratification process, et cetera, right? Regardless of what amendments actually get ratified, because let's face it, folks, right? For a convention, for an amendment to go through, it's not like this is a quick fix. 38 states have to approve that, right? So these are universal issues that I believe we can all agree on. All polling shows that all parties are in agreement. And I think that makes sense, because these are issues that they're not polarizing issues. But by doing it, by having done it, all right, Now, just imagine the environment once this gets done. Let's say we get some. Let's say we get term limits. So immediately we're no longer dealing with McConnell and Pelosi and Schumer and the rhinos we're not dealing with these people. They're all gone instantly, right? They're all gone in the next cycle. All right. That's one way. That helps everything in the country, frankly. But the fact of the matter is, they're gone. That helps. Then we get some fiscal restraints through, and we get a few other things. Now, when it's over, we look at the border situation and we look at the government ignoring the border. Well, that whole the millions of people that have already risen and the millions more that will in the coming months and year, all those people are not just going away. But now we all have power. You follow me? Like now we could turn around and say, we're not going to just complain on Facebook about this border situation. Here it is, federal government. Either you get this under control or we're taking it away from you. And then start the process to call a convention to on the topic of removing the borders from federal responsibility because they've proven they cannot handle the job. That's a complete possibility. Now, once that happens, guess what's really going to happen? That convention will likely never get called. Why? Because the federal government will now know, off the precedent of the last one, right? This new group that came in to take over for all the rhinos will now realize they're serious. And they'll do it. And all of our propaganda and all the propaganda and messaging that's gone out to scare people away from it, well, it didn't work. And they held the convention and they put restrictions on us, and they're going to put more if we don't get our stuff together. And nobody wants to be a part of a federal government that gets turned over like that. No one wants to be the child, which the federal government is, that gets spanked by the parent, which is what the people in the states are. No one wants to be that person. So you could bet when we get the first convention going, if we start raising the fires about another one to handle this border situation, you could bet that there'll be some lockdown. All of a sudden, walls will be a good idea. All of a sudden, we'll be hiring up. There'll be National Guard all across the border. There'll be agreements with other countries that are good. All of that will start to happen. But it doesn't happen without us doing this. It doesn't happen without us acknowledging first that we have that power. Right? That's the first step. And really, that's what we're trying to do on this channel, is get people to acknowledge that you have that power. Now, I know we have a huge international following. Gosh, almost half of our Facebook following is international, or a good portion of it. Australia, UK, there's quite a few in there. Germany, I think, is some more. But the point is, for everybody that's in the States, and even if you're not in the States, you should be cheering on this movement, because you save America and you save the world. That's how it works. If they don't get America, they're not getting the UK. All right. There's still fighting that has to be done in the UK. The UK could willingly jump in on this, but the fact is they won't. Ain't nobody in the UK that's down with this. UK and America share very many values when it comes to the bottom line of saying we like our autonomy. And the fact of the matter is, and thank you, Pamela. I just saw that. And the fact of the matter is, when it comes to implementing this, everybody should be a fan. Everybody should be cheering on Convention of States. Everybody, because again, once that precedent is set, you can't focus enough on how big the ramifications are. The entire relationship between the people and the government will change. That relationship will immediately head back to 1776. And don't start with me with what about all the... It'll head back to 1776 with all the achievements that we've had and progress that we've made. The strict relationship between who fears who will be back in check. And that affects everything. There's absolutely nothing. So don't pigeonhole this into term limits, government overreach and fiscal restraints. Those three things are enormous. So I don't want to undermine them, but I don't want people to lose focus with why this is such a big deal. Because once that muscle is flexed, it's flexed forever, at least for another century, before the Marxists slowly work their way back up the chain and poison a few more generations. I mean, that generally is how the cycle goes. But I can tell you right now, if you're a member of cause right now, if you're showing up at these cause events, if you're one of the millions of grassroots around the country that are showing up and taking time out of your day to make a difference, whenever you see them take a picture of you, whenever you see someone from Convention Estates walking around with a camera, you better make sure that they get your best side, because your face is very likely to show up in a history book some 200 years from now. And you don't want to be making some stupid, silly face in the picture. You want to make sure you get a good one, right? So they want to use that picture when they're going through the old files or the old, cause action and their historical significance, because it does matter. I'm going to go through some comments here. I see that there was some building up, so let's take a look here. We got Westmoreland Jones from Facebook. Devil anything should be banned. Ick. Yeah, exactly. Right. And Westmoreland, I'll tell you, this is what I was saying before, and I don't know if you were on, is that you just don't name something after the Prince of Darkness. You just don't do it. It's just stupid. like someone in the room has to be smarter than that. And clearly no one in the room was smarter than that. So I'm just stunned by it. And then we got Corwin Chelway. So considering we've clearly identified a border problem, what is your solution? Like you just said, nobody wants to be that person. Right. And I think I just covered this with Article 5. This is the only thing we can, I mean, obviously the election as well, right? So I don't want to downplay. A lot of times I talk about Article 5 and I downplay the importance of elections, because on the issues of Article 5 that are currently going through with term limits and term limits, government overreach, and fiscal restraints, it doesn't matter who you elect. It really doesn't. Those three issues are not getting addressed by an elected official. I don't care. I don't care Trump. I don't care anybody. The border, however, will. So having a DeSantis or a Trump, in office, it will make a difference. That'll make an immediate impact on the border. And then if it goes haywire after that, then we can worry about the long-term solution, with a convention or something along those lines. But yeah, that the elections for the border are the solution. So, and really, with respect to the elections, like, we need to turn out in numbers that are just impossible to deny, right? Like numbers that just can't be overcome. And that's, we need to be at every election polling station. We need to be volunteering. We need to be engaged. We need to be watching. We need to make sure that checks are in place, right? Because clearly there were some questions. We don't know, what the answers are right now, but we need to just be diligent. We need to make sure we have secure elections. That's a big deal. So, and that takes volunteers. That takes people, to engage. But in the end, the most important thing is that everybody show up and pull that lever. And make sure you're being heard. Because this next coming election is probably, they say at every election cycle, but we see what's going on in the world right now. And in the end, this is probably the most important election we'll ever have. So yeah, it matters in that sense. So here's another one. I like Corwin. So Corwin, I don't know if you spend a lot of time watching. This is coming from Twitch. I don't know if you spend a lot of time watching. That's a big thing that I always say, is that it's always about the solution. So generally, I will spend a portion of the show speaking on different problems, and then we will finish it with the solution. So I appreciate your attitude, because that's exactly how leaders think, and that's exactly how the American people should be thinking. So much appreciated, and shout out to Twitch, dropping some comments in here. And then we got from YouTube, Diana Pamela. So I'm in the U.S. and I'm sharing this on 3 different sites, not Facebook. It'll be censored. Yeah, shocking, Diane, is that with the exception of they wouldn't let me upload a video recently, because in the video I had placed in, it was a music driven segment that went over media bias. And one of the things that I had put in there were America's not first responders. What is it? America. I always freaking get this wrong. With Dr. Simone, right, where they came out and they were talking about the whole hydrochloroquine thing, and they got banned from YouTube, banned from Facebook, banned from the world. Their website got attacked and all that, right? So, or America's something doctors, right? I forget, but anyway, I put a clip from that in there, and Facebook would not like. Clearly, they had that whole speech in their algorithm, and as soon as it heard it while it was processing my video, they were like, you're not allowed to post this. That really, though, was the only time. Like, for all we got a strike against us right now on YouTube. We've been struck before on YouTube. We just got over a suspension. We were suspended 2 other times over menial nonsense. But like, Facebook hasn't done that to us yet. So honestly, I'm not going to. What Facebook does, and what I think, is the shadow banning thing. So on occasion, there will be a video that I just know. Like, you just get a feel for it after a while. Like, you know what videos are going to do better than others. And sometimes when they're on certain topics, they just die. And you go around. I don't even see them in my own personal feed, right? So. And so things like that happen where you're questioning what's going on with Facebook. But as far as banning our account or like blocking us, or like, they haven't. I have to give credit where it's due. I'm not going to give credit for the shadow banning, because I know whether I'm right or wrong on individual ones, I know some of them were right. You never know as a creator. You're trying to put stuff out and you're wondering, do I suck? Like, did that topic suck? Was nobody interested in it? And then you realize it could very well be them, and it like freaks you out. So it's a constant thing that you're looking at when you're trying to do videos and trying to go live and trying to cover topics, and you never know which one's going to trigger them next. So we just got suspended on YouTube for a week for a video we did 18 weeks ago. And it's like, how they're like going back 18 weeks and hitting us because we did a live episode discussing 2,000 Mules. But I cleverly named it like, guess what documentary we're discussing? And I had the thumbnail with like a big mule on it. Like, so I guess I tricked them. It was supposed to be a joke, but I guess it served to trick them. So Corin says technology creeps ever forward. Yeah, it does. Yeah, technology creeps forward and nothing's going to stop it, right? The question's going to be, and frankly, a lot of the higher cause folks, the Convention of States folks that I talk to, are kind of on the fence about. They don't really know how they feel about this topic. But I'm more like I already thought this out, and this needs to be a part of Convention of States, and that's addressing privacy going forward. Like, there needs to be the technology that we're about to experience. The founders could have never. This is the one time. Like, they foresaw everything. Like, I hear these gun nuts be like, the founders couldn't have ever imagined we would have had, guns the way we do now. Sure they did. Sure they did. Like, they absolutely. They probably would have thought they'd be a lot worse. And the fact, but when it comes to like brain scanning and like, and reading, tracking people under their skin and doing creepy stuff like that, there's no way, I mean, there's some privacy pieces that sort of cover this stuff, but it's wide open for the Supreme Court to just screw that one up, as they've done, with the Commerce Clause and other things throughout history. And once they screw it up, our privacy is done forever. So we need something very simply stated, protecting, maybe a sentence or two. I don't want to be the one to write it, but a sentence or two that just basically says, regardless of the technology capabilities that come out in the future, these things shall not be infringed, and let those things be someone's biometric data, someone's, presence, without warrant, right? No tracking without warrant, those types of things. But there absolutely needs to be preempting the technology. It needs to be there before the tech gets here, because one thing about technology is it always blasts past legislation, and by the time you try and control it, it's already in Creepyville, and you don't know what to do. We know this is coming. We know that these brain scanning and Neuralink and Elon Musk is out there with these chips. Like, it's going to happen. So the question is, how do we make sure it doesn't get creepy? Number one, the government never has full control over it, ever. Number two, there be something in our Constitution directly. So if someone does try to do something creepy like that, they get arrested, right? And or at least it's illegal, right? At least it's something that we can legally fight. So he says, all right, and it will slowly change what the pattern looks like. Yeah, it's all how we control it, right? It's all how we control it. So let me see what else we got here. Years will look like the last 2,000. No, it's going to look completely different. It's going to be a lot better because we're going to pull this off. We're going to pull this off. We're going to set the tone, and all the good stuff from all this technology. We're going to be living 150, 200 years old. If we don't, if we're not immortal at that point. Like there is real science right now that is turning back the clock on aging, and it's not something that's going to go away. It's going to happen. Now, can you still die? Sure, you can get hit by a bus. You can, fall off a cliff. I mean, it'll be God's plan how all that works, but like our lifespans are about to get a hell of a lot longer. That's for damn sure. And so along with a lot of other things like paralysis will become a thing of the past. They'll be able to, their blindness will be a thing of the past. But there are a lot of things in technology that are coming that are going to be freaking amazing. The next 200 years is going to be nothing like the last. The only thing we need to do is make sure that the stuff that makes that technology amazing is not allowed to be used to infringe on our freedom. Because if we're not specific, folks, don't get it twisted. If we're not specific, it's not going to matter. If we're not specific about how we want to do this stuff, it's not going to matter. It's not going. All the good stuff's not going to make a difference. And it's going to get to a point where our freedoms become like legend, like stuff we take for granted now, like, just being able to go out and not, and no one know where you are. That's going to be legend. You're like, really? There's a time like that? That's what they say, son. That's what they say. Like that. That's how we're going to be living. I mean, it's crazy, 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 crazy how that works. But, it is what it is. Robert says tech is great. Is over on Facebook. Tech is great when control is in the right hands. Right. And that's it. Right. And that's what makes the WEF so creepy is that, when they talk about the fourth industrial revolution, which they coined the term for, by the way, and Dr. Evil himself, Klaus Schwab, coined that term. And when they talk about it in terms of the government controlling it. Now they say a public-private partnership. That's like private to them is like BlackRock. like it's important we understand what they mean when they speak. Like when they say public-private relationship, they mean like CEOs of the most massive companies in the world and government. Like there's nobody, John's grocery store on the corner. No, he's not getting a say. he's not getting a say. Let me see. What about our digital rights after we die, or right to privacy of any material we leave behind? Yeah, those are things we're going to have to work out, right? Those are things we're going to have to work out. So, you would think that those things would become in control of next of kin. If you're married, maybe your wife, etc. I mean, we can go on with that. But yeah, that's definitely something that needs to get worked out. And then let me see. I don't want a video of me picking my nose from now going viral. Yeah, be careful with that. Be careful. This is one of the things that my generation is truly blessed to have lived through, is that like all the stupid shit that I did when I was a kid, all of it, there's no record. There's no record of any of it. and I would think, I've been saying this for a while, not on the show, but on in general, I've been saying, I think there's going to come a generation that puts down their phones. Like it sounds crazy, but I feel like that at some point is going to be the radical thing to do, is to just, or like use basic phones, right? And just like make phone calls and just like not let anybody know where you are, and not, or however that would work. But like I feel like at some point, one of these generations, if we do life right, one of these generations that will become trendy. Now, if these dutarus in the spacesuits and stuff take over, then no, then yeah, then not only will they not do that, but they will be like cheering on, what is it, the Fourth Reich or whatever. It's not going to end well for us, for sure. Let me see. David Alaka over on YouTube. The cars are creepy. Alexa's creepy. The whole thing is you can't even change your oil in privacy. The damn car talks to you. Yeah, and there's definitely truth in that, David. So it private. Look, you can have privacy, but you got to understand all these things. Alexa, all that, people are choosing to get that stuff. So look, I know my brother wants to live in a log cabin, right, out in the sticks with he's like, I don't want to be able to see my neighbors. And there's appeal to that. I'm actually, working on buying property with him to have that option. But at the same time, the people that have this creepy stuff, they buy it, right? Like, don't buy Alexa. Don't, you can't really get a car that doesn't talk to you. Well, not that doesn't talk to you. My car doesn't talk to me. But that being said, I get your point. Everything is, and it's only getting worse, right? It's only getting worse. So so it's true that the more we look at that, and then Corwin's laughing at David, it's like, yeah, that's totally true. And look, we know there's good sides to technology. I'll be honest. I mean, my gut, I always go with my gut, right? And just to be back on the topic, because I know I've gone kind of over the hour here, but we had these comments to get through, so I wanted to make sure I was getting them out there. But my gut feeling, I guess, in summary, is that if you name something after the Prince of Darkness, it's probably not something that you want to mess with. Whether you're religious or not, just understand the person who named that, the first thing that came to their mind was the Prince of Darkness. It's like, that's probably not a person I even want to hang out with, to be honest with you. I have a beer with just about anybody, but that person, I think I'll hold off a little bit there. I don't think I'm going to go down that road because, the whole Prince of Darkness thing. Like, Lucifer's just not something to name something. And again, creepier for those that joined us late. We were talking about this patent from the Homeland Security Department to tattoo you. It's a real thing. All right, it's not. We're not. I had to say this disclaimer before. I'm not trolling you. They really do want to tattoo you with some. It's called quantum dots. Is actually what it's called, and it's using luciferase, which is a bioluminescent that will go under your skin, and the bioluminescence will emanate. You won't see it, but it'll be there, and they'll be able to scan it. And with that scan, they can find out your whole story, whether it's, what they end up specifically using it for, is let your imagination run wild, but in the end, the fact that the Homeland Security Department is even considering technology like that, no less filing a patent for it. And we showed you the patent earlier. You can Google it. It comes right up. It's not, you don't got to research this one, folks. You just got to Google it. That's all you got to do. And it'll show you, and it'll creep you out. And then, and then you're going to go ahead and get mad at me for making you all creeped out. But in the end, it is creepy, right? The fact that they're using something named luciferase to now, for those that didn't hear in the beginning, there was a fact check done on this where the fact check from the title, you think, oh, maybe the Homeland Security Department didn't patent this, right? So if you need more proof, this is it. That's what you think when you read the title. And then when you actually read the fact check, what they're saying is, yes, the Homeland Security Department did patent this. However, it's not the mark of the beast. They literally fact checked prophecy. They're in a position, they must have felt the room get warmer when they sent that one out. But they literally who are you to tell a Christian that it is or isn't the mark of the beast? That's a faith-based thing. You're not, but they literally did that. I am curious to see if that gets tagged on to this video. I'm incredibly curious to see if I get a tag on Facebook that says fact check, partly false, as and so that they can say it's not the mark of the beast. So for the record, I am not saying it's the mark of the beast. So if you put that partly false tag on my post, you're lying, and I'm going to fact check you. I'm going to go to your house. I'm going to put something on your door. So this person is partly false. But anyway, I thought that was funny, and I thought I'd share that part with you, the fact check, because the fact that they're down, they've gotten down to the point where they're fact checking prophecy is just next level psychosis. But lo and behold, they are, and there's really no, there's really nothing, nowhere you can go from there. I mean, that's about as low as it gets. So most of my followers, most of my subscribers, most of you guys out there, all these tankers out there, most of you guys don't believe that crap anyway. And you know that when you see like most people that are used to reading truth, when you see a fact check on a post, you immediately go and see that post. It's like, oh, I wasn't going to check that out because I didn't like the thumbnail or whatever. The thumbnail wasn't interesting, but hey, it's got a fact check on it. Let me check it out. Like that's the truth seekers. That's what you do now, right? Like that we've gone down this road with these ridiculous fact check companies. If anybody sees lead stories, know that that's a CCP company. So that's another tip for you. If you see anything fact checked by lead stories, feel free to look it up. They have it on their website. Their funding comes from Facebook, but it also comes from ByteDance, owner of TikTok, a Chinese CCP company. And I've gone through this. That's why Trump wanted to get rid of TikTok, because they're data mining Americans. If your kids are on it, get them off of it. Like TikTok is no place for an American citizen to be, because nothing good is going to. You say, oh, what are they going to do with all that information? Do you want to find out? like clearly they're collecting it. So if you want your kids, if you want all your kids' internet habits and everything else, all their messages and all that stuff. Like when that device is on, when that app is on your phone, there's no telling what data it's gathering. And I'm just telling you right now, it's not an app you want to put on your phone. I don't care how funny the dog videos are. And they are funny, by the way. I tell this to my wife. She keeps it on her phone anyway. She likes the dog videos. I'm like, okay. I'm not going to fight. I pick my battles. Right? I'm not going to fight with her over TikTok. But, you guys make your own decisions now that you know. So I bet the TikTok company's like, damn, so close. Yeah. TikTok is it's a bad thing. It's not about censorship. It's about data mining and national security. When the CCP, when the United States' biggest enemy is data mining information on its citizens, that's a national security issue. It's one that everybody should be concerned about. But I don't want to go down that road because I could do a whole nother hour on that alone. But I do want to say thank you to everyone. Again, if you're one of the we totally we're moving quick on Facebook. We're moving incredibly quick. YouTube's a more incremental thing, but Facebook is like just exploding, and it's going international, which is pretty cool. When I looked at the demographics, I keep seeing the mix, around that 40% level or so, 35 to 40% international, coming from a variety of places like UK and I mean Kazakhstan. We had someone that I was messaging with. Australia is a big one. Although I'm shocked Australia is on Facebook. I guess after the lockdowns they let Facebook back in or whatever. But I know Facebook was banning them for a while. But anyway, to everyone, both in the U.S. and out, sign the petition. Article 5 is the way for all of us. All right, for all of us. And don't, stay away from Lucifer. Nobody go near the Prince of Darkness. He's a bad guy. You don't want to be a part of that. The internet is forever. You don't want to be a part of Luciferese. All right?
And like that,